Yo, what's up? Welcome to episode 11 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and joining me today, as always, is Woody V. Woody, how's it going, my man?
Man, always love this time of week when I get to mix it up with you, Robbie. You know, it was an honor to spend some time with a legend, Buddy Nudge, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I was a little starstruck then, and I got to say, I'm a little starstruck now, homie. A little starstruck now.
That's right. Well, of course, we've got a very, very special guest on the show today, as you can see there. So, you can see this guy on ESPN, on NBL Overtime, as well as commentating the games, and he's also the host of the Huddle NBL Podcast. I would like to give a very warm welcome to Liam Santamaria.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good to be on the show. I caught a little bit of the chat with Body, as you say. What a legend, the doyen of basketball journalism in this country. Absolutely. And just honoured to be following in his footsteps.
Thanks, mate. And Liam, I promise we won't keep you on for like an hour and 40 minutes like we did with Body. I think he was ready to talk all night on that podcast there. So we promise we'll be a little bit quicker there. So, no, it's great to have you, mate. So, look, I guess everyone, just a bit of a reminder where to find us. You can check out the show each week on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And obviously the podcast is available on all the different podcast channels there. So please hit subscribe and sort of download those each week. All right, so let's kick it off. So now, Liam, you know that anyone that comes on the Throwback Hoop show needs to wear a jersey. So what have you got for us today?
Well, I've kept it under wraps. The element of surprise for on air, which is how we like to do it on NBL Overtime. Our pre-production meetings for NBL Overtime last for about 5 seconds because we say save it for on air and then we just go. So I've saved this bad boy for go time. It's the circa mid-2000s Mike Bibby.
Ooh,
nice. Is what I'm with.
Nice.
Ooh. So
I love that
a
one.
little bit like what you're rocking there, Rob, where it's the wide shoulder era.
Yeah,
of the jerseys.
That's a Reebok one too, isn't it? That one I think you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Mike Bibby. Big fan of Mike Bibby. 97 champs, the Arizona Wildcats. What a team that was. Miles Simon, Michael Dickerson,
Jason
Terry off the bench. And then you got Bennett Davison, of course, who came out here and was all over the rim for the Melbourne Tigers. And then, of course, Bibby for the Kings in the early 2000s, right? Western Conference Finals. Game 5, game winner, the handoff from Chris Webber, sticks the mid-range to beat the Lakers. They go down in that series, but they were a fun team to watch. And I actually have a bit of a personal Mike Bibby story because after they won that 97 NCAA championship, that Arizona Wildcats team actually came out to Australia and played a bunch of games here, including the last ever game at the old Albert Park Stadium here in Melbourne, which is obviously now an historic event. And it was against the Melbourne Tigers.
Yep.
An overtime. It might even have been a double overtime. Just absolute classic. Drewy and Copes and Brackey pulled down like 100 million rebounds. And I had my family and I sat right behind the Arizona bench. And at one point during the game, Ronaldson just leaned back and put his hands across the back of his head, and he put the 97 championship ring like right in front of my face. And I was just staring at this thing. I just watched them win the championship like a month or two earlier, and there's the championship ring right in front of my face, and I could just touch it. I didn't touch it. I left it on his ring, and I watched an epic game that I'll never forget.
Damn.
That's a great story. Mate, I know we didn't plan these jerseys today, but you wait till I show mine. There's actually a connection to Mike Bibby there.
Wait.
So you wait till you see what that is without giving you
Okay.
All right. No, I appreciate that, Liam. That's a nice looking jersey, that one. All right. What about yourself, Woods? What have you got this week? I know Liam's probably going to like this one, right?
Hey, thanks, Robbie, man. With Santa coming on the show today, it was only fitting I'll wear this jersey. You know what I'm saying? So let me show you.
Hey.
Very nice.
That's the bear.
Woody's standing up wearing the bear, Tony Ronaldson, the old school jersey there. It's signed as well, right? That's a nice one there, Woods.
Yeah, you know, man. It had to be this one today, man. I was going through and I was like, yeah, that's the one, and affectionately referred to as the Bear. What a career he had, spanned 20 years playing for 5 NBL teams. Robbie, I actually remember him for the first time in that 91 season playing for the Eastside Spectres alongside Bruce Bolden, under your ex-coach, Brian Gorgian. Liam, when he had the long head of hair and he was drinking the Diet Coke on the sideline, and I think it was I think Perth lost the first game. They came back and won the second and third, if I'm not mistaken, Robbie, from memory.
Right. Yeah.
And he represented the Boomers with distinction as well, as we all know. And who could forget that 4-point play against Croatia to give the Boomers a chance at a bronze medal? Against
amazing.
Lithuania back in '96, right? And at the Olympics. And Liam, you've been a teammate of Tony and no doubt had a relationship with him over the years. Why don't you speak on a little bit about him as a person, what he was like as a human being, and what it was like being teammates with him?
Yeah, great dude, legend of Australian basketball, as you say. Absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's the games record holder for NBL basketball, over Andrew Gaze and Leroy Loggins, and he's just just an unbelievable career. Championships, got it done at a number of clubs, and from when I played with him in 2001-02, he was just a great leader. Like we should have won the title that year. It still gets me a bit fired up that we didn't get it done. You. And a lot of that was based on the fact that that team was just stacked with great leadership, and Bear was obviously a massive element of that. And of course, the trail 3 was his signature shot.
Yep.
But he was just an incredible screener, because he had just a big, strong base, which is, I think, the best way to put it. Where
you're being very polite there. Yeah, we know what you're saying.
He was tough to get around. You couldn't move him, and he was tough to get around. So I ran into a bunch of Tony Ronaldson screens at practice. Don't worry about that. But then also in the block, he had that little righty hook. He would get deep position, get push guys right under the basket if he could get a deep seal. He was just a great player in our league for such a long time.
Me being a Wildcats fan as well, I loved his sort of time after he sort of left, obviously, Victoria, and sort of, went over and played with the Wildcats there and continued that great career of his. So, no, it's very good. I'm loving those 2 jerseys there, boys. So, all right, I'll just quickly sort of tell you about, so Liam, what I do each week is I sort of have one hanging and then sort of wear one. So I guess the one hanging, it's a bit of an old random Peter Crawford, Townsville Crocodiles jersey there. So, yeah, PC was someone I liked back in the day there. So I guess a little bit about Crawford there. He had a 16-year career in the NBL. He actually had 2 separate stints with the Crocodiles for 5 years each time. He's actually still he was the game's record holder for the Crocs. In between that, he played with my Wildcats for 5 years. Interestingly, that was during that 10-year period where the Wildcats didn't actually win any championships. So that was obviously a long sort of period for the Wildcats there. So he didn't sort of win anything there. But he was a two-time All-NBL player, which kind of surprised me when I looked into that last night. It was an All-NBL second team and an All-NBL third team. He also won the Most Improved Player in 2005. The thing that actually reminded me of PC, I saw him obviously on the sidelines. He's an assistant coach with the Bulls.
James Duncan, right, on his staff now, right?
So I saw that and I thought, oh, geez, that was a bit of a blast from the past there. Like, you got any memories of Peter Crawford around that time there, Liam?
I do. I go back a tiny little bit further, playing for the Victorian schoolboys team, and playing in the schools, the nationals there. I can remember PC from representing Queensland at that point, and he was just lights out. It was PC for Queensland, Nathan Croswell for New South Wales were the kind of best players at the time, and Braith Cox was our man for Victoria that year. And then, what a tremendous player, of course, an Olympian. Did you mention that? Yeah, so, and he was just a lights out shooter. Yeah. And can I mention, shout out to PC, because I'm not sure if you guys know, over the off season or the preseason, I spoke with each one of the coaches on the Huddle podcast in the lead up to the season.
And
after we had them all.
Oh, not after you guys were the ones. After we wrapped with James Duncan, we're still on the Zoom, stopped recording, have a bit of a chat. And I said, you're going to have to replace CJ. He hadn't quite been announced, CJ at Adelaide, but the word was that was done. And he was like, yeah, I know. And he said, we're looking around. Do you know of anybody? I said, hey, you should have a look at Peter Crawford. You should drop a line at Peter Crawford. Yeah. Nice. And he was like, well, tell me about Peter Crawford. And I gave him the spiel that you just rolled out there, Rob. And he'd been, stepping into the coaching game the last couple of years, and push came to shove. He got the job.
Very good. I think he was still playing just in the Queensland League. I think even maybe 3 seasons ago. So he obviously sort of continued playing pretty late there. So, no, it's a cool story there. So, all right. Well, look, I'll tell you, I said I'd keep this one a bit of a secret there, Liam, with this jersey. So, look, I'll stand up first so you can see who it is. So, look, it's Woody will sort of tell you when I'm standing up, but it's a very random Charlotte Bobcats jersey. You'll see the name on the back soon, right?
It is. And Robbie had a man crush on this guy. He still has a man crush on this guy. Eddie House, man. Eddie House, microwave, man.
Eddie House.
Absolute journeyman.
That's a random one, right?
Eddie House. I was not expecting that. I could have rattled off maybe 15 or 20 Charlotte Bobcats before I got anywhere near Eddie House.
Well, in fairness, Liam, he did play for, I'll tell you, he played for 9 teams in 11 seasons there, so he didn't sort of normally hang around too much when he stayed somewhere. But look, I guess, Woody, you know how much I loved Eddie House over the years, right? He was a very random sort of favourite player of mine.
I know, dog.
The reason for that, I actually caught him playing an NCAA college game on TV in 1999 when he was playing for Arizona State. Eddie House scored 61 points in that game and just was a walking bucket. I love the way the guy played. There wasn't much of him, but he wasn't shy, just put up every shot that he got. So, look, after that, as I said, he played 11 seasons in the NBA with 9 teams. Very quickly, the Heat twice. He started and finished his career there. Then also the Clippers, Bucks, Bobcats, Kings, Suns, Nets, Celtics, and Knicks. And he also, of course, won an NBA championship with the Celtics in 2008.
Let me just say something. Say something right here. This is the connection we were talking about, Liam. Did you know that Mike Bibby's brother-in-law is Eddie House?
Whoa. Really?
Did you know that?
No.
How random is that? We didn't sort of talk about what jerseys we're wearing. And
we didn't. Hey, for everyone who's listening and watching this was not planned,
This is just like a well-known thing.
Just now.
This is just well known that Mike Bibby and Eddie House.
Kind of, yeah.
It's not. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
You gotta.
Isn't
gotta know your shit a little bit, but yeah.
Isn't Eddie House the original Bill Simmons kind of irrational confidence guy?
I think he was. Yeah. He just come on, let him launch 5 threes. If he misses them, take him straight off. If he makes 3 of those, keep him on a bit longer, right? So,
yeah.
Yes, I love the way he played. He's also actually the cousin of current Houston Rockets player Daniel House as well. So
gotcha.
I guess that name is still sort of, in the NBA now. So, yeah, Eddie House. And, of course, Woods, I like to bring a random bobblehead. There can't be a more random bobblehead than an Eddie House one, right? So,
oh, man, love it.
There's an Eddie House Miami Heat bobblehead there. So
I'm not surprised you have that, man. I think you got about 6 Eddie House jerseys, don't you?
I do. I actually was looking through the cupboard last night to pick one, and I found 6 Eddie House jerseys. So I don't know whether that means I'm crazy or a big fan or a bit of both. But yeah. So I just thought I'd pick this random one to wear there, but I had a bit of.
Hey, I ain't surprised, man. And Liam, Robbie always brings a bobblehead, couple of jerseys. He tries to show off that he's got all this merchandise, and he always has a little toy sitting in the background, right?
Okay.
And he's got a special one today, right? A really special one.
Normally it's NBA related, but with Liam Santamaria on, I thought we'd have Santa in the background as well. So Santa's just going to be sitting in the background just watching over the show there. So, yeah.
I like that, RC.
You've got all the goods. So, I think the fact that you have an Eddie House jersey collection to choose from is absolutely mind-blowing and beautiful.
I've even got a signed Miami Heat Eddie House jersey as well, so it was just a bit small. Put on a bit of weight since I got that one, so I didn't wear that one. But yeah, it's a bit of a random collection there. But it was hard to try and keep up with all these teams there with him changing teams every season, I guess there. So no, good stuff, boys. Well, all right. What we do is we might go sort of straight into, I guess, just a bit of a sort of an interview with Liam there, just to sort of, find out a little bit of, about his career sort of back in his playing times and obviously his career now in the media. So we might sort of go into it. So, Liam, what I wanted to hear, obviously some stories about your time in the NBL. Look, Woody and I have both heard you speak, quite modestly about this in the past, but we would sort of love to know what your memories are, with playing with the Victoria Titans during the 01-02 season. That, of course, was the season where the Titans finished on top of the regular season before losing to the eventual champs, the 36ers, in the semi-finals. So, yeah, what are your sort of memories from that time?
Well, there's no other way to speak about it other than modestly, really, because it was a kind of I had a modest role on an absolutely star-studded team, and I was kind of in and out of the league pretty quickly. So, but that being said, my strongest memories are primarily of practice, because it was a really amazing basketball environment on the day-to-day under Brian Gorgon at Titans practice. I had some incredible teammates on that team, like real household names of Australian basketball, Tony Ronaldson and Chris Anstey and D-Mac, and then Jason Smith becomes a Boomers captain, and Brett Wheeler, and it was just...
It's like an all-star team, wasn't it?
Jamal Mosley's head coach in the NBA right now.
Him. Yeah.
Like there were just so Mark Dickel, Nathan Croswell, was Darren Smith, Brad Sheridan, incredibly deep, talented team. So practice was so much fun on the day-to-day. Now, anyone who's played for Brian Gorgon will tell you that his practices are no joke.
Now, you can imagine, man.
He may have backed it off a little bit in recent times, because we've developed our understanding of load management and those types of things. But back in the day, you were an absolute write-off for the rest of the day after a gorge practice. We were up at the very crack of dawn, getting it, lifting weights with Bruce Gray, who's a well-known strength and conditioning coach here in basketball circles in Melbourne, and then straight to the gym, individuals, getting up your shots, and then 2-hour sessions that were really intense. A lot of defense, a lot of getting up and down, and you had to play at a really high level. I can remember him always getting my name wrong. He called me Liam. He called me Liam Santamaria. And my nickname at Titans practice became Buffy, because I would love to say because I look like what Mike Bibby looks like these days, but it wasn't quite. It wasn't quite that way. It was because Gorge his memory went to a place where he remembered an old singer in the States called Buffy Sainte-Marie. And so all of a sudden on the day-to-day, he's calling me Buffy or Buff at practice. So I remember that. I can remember sitting down with Gorge in the top room there at Sandringham. I was practicing with the team in advance of the season with a sight towards going over and playing college ball. There were some injuries in the backcourt in preseason. I suited up for a couple of preseason games and held my own and done reasonably well. And I can remember him sitting down and saying, "Listen, I want to sign you to a contract. I want to sign you to the team. I know you were keen to, get my help to go over to college, but you've got a decision to make. If you sign and you play with us, you won't be able to do that in your future." And he said, "Listen, I actually think one day you'll become a head coach in this league," is what he told me that day. He said, "Just the way that you sort of see the game." And
did he know your name by this time there as well? Then?
No, he's like, "Buff." He said, "Buff, I think you're going to be a head coach." He said, "You see the game from like a real team perspective, which is just something I've never forgotten that he said to me that day." And he said, "You got the weekend to decide. Come back on Monday and decide whether you want to sign the contract." And so I had a big, long think, and I thought, look, the reason why I'm not going to make the NBA, I would go and play college ball to try to develop myself into an NBL player. I got the best coach in the country here, is ready to put me in that sort of environment right away. So came back, signed that deal. I can remember checking into my first game and achieving a dream as a result. Walking out there was Hisense Arena at the time, and it was garbage time. I think it was against the Wildcats, and I got out there. My knees were knocking. I was my arms were still tired from triceps with Bruce Gray, and I thought, I hope I don't get the ball in the corner and have to shoot from long range. And I can just remember us also just falling short in the playoffs as well. Leonard Copeland lighting us up in the first round. It was at a point where you had a double chance. So we lost that series. And then we played Adelaide, of course, and Willie Farley and Brett Maher. And we had some injuries and got bundled out. So they're my main memories. And then, of course, the Titans folded over that off season. And
I was
that was
actually
the
going
end
to
of
sort
an
of
era.
say that. So that sort of happened not long after the season, right? The Titans folded, and then they came back as the Giants again for another couple of years, and then left again, right? Like,
it was actually quite late in the piece in the off season, so I was ready to go for my second season with the Titans. We'd reloaded. We'd brought in Neil Mottram. Neil Mottram was going to be a part of our team that next season.
Yeah.
We'd changed our where we were going to be based. Instead of training out of Sandringham, we had this set up at Monash University, and it was going to be like a real kind of good setup there. Our whole base all in one place, and then it all went south. And then guys went here, there, and everywhere. Gorge went to Sydney. I think he took Brad Sheridan with him. I think Baird, did Baird go straight to Perth or did he go to New Zealand?
I think he might have gone to Perth first.
No, Perth. 2002, Perth.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Jason Smith went to Italy. Like everyone went all in their different directions. Now I was kind of like the last guy on the roster and a development player, really. And, all the other teams around the country had their kind of development players, their local guys kind of signed up in that regard, and there wasn't a spot for me. And then the Giants rose out of those ashes, and they went in a different direction. Mark Wright was the coach. Marcus Wright, his son, got back into the mix, and they just went with different guys, and I was left on the outer.
Interesting. Well, Liam, you pressed on some of those amazing sort of teammates you had there. I'd love to know, obviously, playing your position there, what it was like to go against DMAC in practice there. You must have a DMAC story for us there, right?
Incredible. Really, it's actually cool kind of reflecting on it, because I learned so much playing against him every day. I mean, I was really running the third squad, so you had the starters, then you had the bench. So the bench and the point guard of that team was usually Mark Dickel, maybe sometimes Nathan Croswell. And
Sparky.
That's right. And then I was running the third squad, which was essentially the scout group. So we would go off onto another floor with Kevin Gorgian, and he would run us through the sets that the opposing team of that week would run. We would learn those sets, and then we'd come back into the scrimmages and run as the scout group. So I was trying to throw lobs to Pero Vasiljevic, and we had, like the other kind of train-on guys, and we were the scout group. And so going up against DMAC, I had a lot of difficulty guarding him, as you could imagine, because the biggest issue for me was his size. He's a really tall point guard, and he could shoot over the top of me if he got deep enough. And I can remember one thing that he told me, which I never forgot, and it really helped me as a player. And he was saying, I said, Mac, like, your vision is the thing that's the most amazing thing. And he said, no, it's very simple. When I get into the lane, I don't throw the first pass I see. I throw the second option. So the first one is the one that not only I see, everyone sees. So the defenders, that's where they expect the ball to go. So whilst they expect me to drop it off here, I'm finding Jason Smith in the corner over there. And that's the pass no one expected to happen. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. That's why he has such an incredible assist to turnover ratio every time. It's why everyone marvels at his vision, because he's not just seeing one option, he's seeing the one that nobody else can recognize.
No, that's a good call. And I always thought DMAC was one of those players. He used to make me laugh watching him, because he'd just do some just ridiculous passes, like you said, and he'd pick people's pockets all the time and that. But yeah, like we said, what an amazing sort of roster that team actually had back then, right? And you obviously sort of pressed on Jamal Mosley at the start of the chat as well there, Liam. What were your thoughts on him in that season you played with him? And did you know that he'd sort of end up being sort of destined to be an NBA head coach, where he is currently with the Orlando Magic?
No way. I mean, there are some guys, I spoke about this on the broadcast the other day about, in the preseason, I think it was, about Jason Kadee. I look at him right now and I say he's going to be an NBL head coach. There's no doubt about it. You can just tell that about certain guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't tell that about Jamal Mosley. Great teammate, awesome teammate. So that's a big tick, in terms of moving in that direction. But he was just an energy guy for our squad. Best sixth man of the NBL that year, because he came off the bench and he just did all the dirty stuff underneath, got after offensive rebounds. He was a little bit like what Ben Moore was for Southeast Melbourne last year, but on steroids, because, he would throw it down with authority. He'd get amped. He'd get the crowd going. I can remember he would have a double shot coffee in the locker room before every game, and he would. I just have this memory of him walking. Everyone's getting warmed up, having water. He's just walking around with his coffee like a Sunday morning, just making sure he got his coffee in before tip off. And then by the time he checked into the game, a couple of minutes into the first quarter, he was a bundle of energy.
Actually, caught up with Cam Luke, your man, on the weekend, right? And we had this chat about Jamal Mosley, and we were going to have this question on the show and whatnot. And at the end of overtime, what did he do? He goes, "Hey, you spoken to your ex-teammate and coach Jamal Mosley on overtime at the end of the show?"
That's where that came from.
We were having a joint chat about it.
I'm sitting there in the studio thinking, why is he talking about Jamal Mosley all of a sudden?
It was communal, right? So he didn't steal nothing, but yeah, no, it's nice to see that, like, and Robbie will touch on it. You're going out to Summer League, and you got to catch up with him a few years ago, Robbie. So maybe you want to speak on that a little bit, right?
Yeah, look, certainly wanted to ask about the Summer League, but probably before we went into that, and look, I obviously want to sort of ask, after your playing career finished, Liam, sort of how you transitioned into the media. Also wanted to just maybe take one step back as well with what you said about Gorge there, with sort of in terms of coaching and that. Was that ever sort of something that was, on the horizon for you there, or sort of what made you sort of choose the media side over the coaching side?
Yeah, good question. So I continued to play for a number of years after that point, mainly at kind of like the state level here in Victoria, and then eventually I hung
Diamond
them up.
League, right?
It was like I played in this, what was the Seabull, which is essentially the NBL 1 now. I played in the Seabull and the Big V.
Yep.
And I eventually hung them up in about 2008. I snapped my Achilles tendon. I broke my 5th metatarsal in my foot, and I was having a lot of lower limb injuries. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to hang them up. But what I had also been doing in the background was finishing my degree. So I was smashing out a teaching degree to say, you know what, if I'm need to make sure I got something else to go to at this point. And so when I hung them up, I was teaching full time. So I kind of stepped away from the game a little bit in that regard, and I just dove into like another chapter of my life, which was teaching. And I was like a classroom primary school teacher for a number of years there.
Wow.
And I stayed connected with the league because I was living with my best mate Tommy Greer at the time. So we had a little pad near Chapel Street in Windsor, and we were having a good time. And he was playing for the Melbourne Tigers and winning championships, and I was kind of debriefing with him after games and kind of, chatting with him during the week, and then going off and getting my teaching done. And then after a little while, around 2012, 2013, as his kind of career was starting to wind down, we were, so this is the element of the answer that's about transitioning into the media side of things. We started creating a podcast very similar to what you guys are doing, but not to the same extent, because we just started smashing out a podcast for our NBA fantasy league. So we had an audience of like 8 for our podcast on a weekly basis.
In the league, right?
Yeah, just everyone in the league. And so it was more just about how everyone's teams were going, and we were just having some fun with it. And then after a year or so, the guys were like, we love the podcast. You should actually do this for real. You should get out there and do it, not just about our fantasy league, but about the NBL and the NBA and whatnot. So we sparked up a podcast out of that. And then at the same time, we created a website. We thought, okay, you know what? We're going to create a website that'll be sort of like the Grantland of Australian basketball. So I started writing for that website, which we were running. We put the podcast alongside that website. And then things kind of just grew from there. The NBL started picking up the podcast. They wanted to get me involved with writing for the NBL website. And then we got to a point maybe around 2016, 2017, where I kind of made the full-time transition away from teaching, and then and completely into the hoops media game.
Nice.
Grizz and Tiz, right, Liam?
That's right.
Was that it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Grizz and Tiz. I remember it, man. Yeah. I listened to it as well. So yeah, back then it was the only one out there that so.
Yeah, look, we must say as well, Liam, obviously we said the same to Body a couple of weeks ago, but, it's guys like yourself and everything like that really sort of given us some inspiration to sort of be able to start doing what we've been doing. We've sort of talked about it for a while, but, listening to your podcast anytime there's a new episode up, and it really has given us a bit of inspiration there. So, we truly sort of thank you for inspiring us to sort of go down that path that you're doing as well. So
that's cool. That's really cool to hear. Yeah. And I love it. It's great. I mean, the more people that are talking about the game, and you guys clearly just have like an absolute love for it. If you've got 6 Eddie House jerseys, you love basketball.
We want to get some of those NBA fans over to NBL fans. That's a big thing we try and push there, because even with a lot of our mates, they're huge basketball fans, won't watch NBL, and that's something that's making a bit of a mission, don't we, Woody, to try and sort of get those fans on board and see how great our league is and how good the product is these days. So, yeah, we'll certainly continue.
Right on, Robbie.
Yeah. And look, I wanted to just ask you as well, Liam. So I know Woody sort of just mentioned about sort of going over and covering the Summer League. I know you also went over and I think you commentated a game, the Jazz against, I'm blanking now. Was it?
Yeah, so I've been there for a few preseason games. Yeah, the Jazz games were against Adelaide, against Perth. Yeah,
you commentated with Big Thurl Bailey as well, right?
Yes, and Craig Bolajak.
We might pull his card today in the old pack. Yeah.
Might pull his. Have you got his jersey?
No, I don't have a Thurl Bailey. I'm sorry. I'm letting you down. I don't have his.
Those guys, those were great guys, man. Yeah, I loved that calling with those.
Yeah, what was your time like over there, sort of doing that and everything like that?
Yeah, really fun, like head spinning kind of stuff. Tommy and I have been pushing with the NBL for a number of years to cover the NBA Summer League with a little bit more kind of focus. Because what the NBA does so incredibly well is they stay relevant for 12 months of the year, right? The NBA finals finish and the NBA draft is right around the corner. And so you've got the whole pre-draft process, then the draft. Before you know it, after the draft, those guys are playing at Summer League. Everyone's getting their first look at Summer League. Training camp is not too far away. And then before you know it, you're in preseason, you start the regular season again. And you're like, well, I've just been consuming NBA content all year round. And so the big push we made a few years back was like, we need to start doing this from an NBL perspective a little bit more. So they brought in the NBL Next Gen camp as part of that process to sort of kind of tap into that idea of a draft and the draft process. Let's get all these guys measured up and let's look at the next guys that are going to come through. And I said, for years and years and years, so much from an NBL perspective has been happening over at the NBA Summer League. It's just been happening in the dark. Yeah. There's so much content to pull out of there. Aussie guys playing in NBA jerseys with the logo on their chest. We should be making a big deal about that. And they're not only Aussie guys, but NBL guys, NBL imports, who we, the year or two before, have grown to love, have become absolute stars of our league over there trying to break through into the NBA. And that's all aside from what's really going on, which is the hustle and bustle of NBL import scouting and recruiting. For years, every single team had representatives, coaches, CEOs, GMs, even owners on the ground there in Las Vegas, all trying to find the next guy, the next MVP of the NBL. And we said, let's go over there and cover the heck out of that. Let's get Tommy and I on the ground. We've got the relationships with the coaches and the GMs and the players, and we can kind of get in and have those conversations. So we did that first time, I think it was 2017. Did a couple of times with Tommy. And the last one I did a couple of years ago, the Earthquake Summer League with Cam Luke. And haven't been back since because of COVID and the like. So hopefully back next year. And then the NBL NBA preseason games, of course, sensational. Just putting the NBL right there on the global scale. I wasn't there for the OKC Melbourne United game, which was a bummer because it came right down to the wire. My man Tommy was there for that.
Casper Ware was on fire, wasn't he?
But I've been there for some good games. I've been there for some beltings. But hopefully we can get back into that next season, and at some stage we're going to break through for a win.
hopefully things get back a bit more to normal, and you can sort of go over there and cover those. And look, that's actually sort of brings me to, I guess, I was sort of just curious as well, Liam, with how you guys sort of go with, I guess, the NBL sort of hub type commentary you guys do at the moment. Because I believe, if I'm right, so there's no traveling to sort of interstate to all the games like it's sort of happened in the past. So they've essentially got you guys in a bit of a hub there. How do you find that? And sort of, do you find that still easy to cover the games that way? And what are the sort of differences?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've just gotten very used to it, of course, because, we're in our, what is it, third year of doing that this season.
Yep.
So it's become very much the norm for me. We always have at least one person as a sideline there on the ground at the venue. But I don't do that as much. I'm just kind of in the hub as an analyst. I did get one season as part of the broadcast team in the arena before we transition into the hub. So I do have that experience to kind of refer to. And look, there's nothing like being in the atmosphere and being able to experience, see the whole floor is a big one for me. See what while the play's going on here, who the coach is talking to at the end of his bench down there, those types of things you miss for sure. But the main thing is just the feel and the atmosphere and the roar of the crowd as it goes through your body in a massive moment. Having said that, I've got very used to reading games and analyzing games off the TV, just from the type of angle that you get from the camera as distinct to being courtside. And so I've kind of got very used to that. And I will say also, being in the hub is it's not as much of a big difference for the analysts, because there's from time to time you got to get up and about as a result of the flow of the game. But I think what the real impact is on the play-by-play guys who and I've certainly experienced that, having stepped in and helped out with play-by-play a couple of times. I've felt the difference. I've gone, geez, there were some times in that game where I would really love to have been courtside. That I remember that Southeast Melbourne Adelaide game 2 seasons ago when Jerome Randall was Mitch Creek's first game back in Adelaide. He missed the layup that would have tied the game on the buzzer. And Jerome Randall hit those couple of massive buckets late. And I can remember calling that game play-by-play thinking, I wish I was at the arena, as these 36ers fans are just losing their biscuits right now. So there's some moments like that. But look, in the COVID world, a lot of sports, most sports are kind of doing this. They transitioned to doing this, broadcasting this way. And the NBL, as it turned out, we're actually kind of ahead of the curve in that regard, because we went into the hub season before COVID hit.
And I think with the technology and all those sort of things probably allows for it, right? I'm sure you guys have probably got some pretty good access to the live stats and sort of all the various replays. So essentially, like you said, for the colour sort of commentary, you're probably not missing out on a lot of things, are you, I guess? But
yeah, we've got 3 huge screens in front of us. So directly in front of us is the broadcast screen. So that has what is going to broadcast right now. So that's the one you watch 99% of the time because it's got the game on it. We have one to the left which has every camera is fed. So it's got, say, I don't know how many screens, but it's broken up into a whole bunch of different screens. So from time to time, I do look over there and can see like a guy's walking to the score bench to check in, but it's not on the broadcast screen, if that makes sense. So you can say, oh, all right, he's coming to check in. Cool. And then the next screen over on the right is the live stats. It's a huge box score that updates the moment things happen, fed straight from the game. So yeah, we're perfectly set up. I love the look and feel of the broadcast this year in the studio. We've got some fun tools that we're going to unveil in the next few weeks that's going to kind of add to it as well. So
very good.
Yeah, man, I think I'm enjoying the whole setup there at the moment.
No, we can't wait to see it. And look, really appreciate some of those answers, Liam. And look, we could probably ask you some of these questions sort of all day, but we're obviously conscious of time. So what I probably wanted to do is maybe just have a little bit of a look back on round 1 of the NBL. Obviously, we know round 2 is about to start in less than 3 hours from the time we're actually recording now, right? But I just wanted to sort of see what your thoughts are for both of you with that first week. So maybe Liam, let us know maybe a team or a player that might have impressed you during that first round.
Woody, I hope I don't steal what you're going to go with here, but I'm just gonna pick the low hanging fruit and talk about Vic Law, because oh my goodness, he was just unbelievable on that opening night, wasn't it? I mean, it was such a cool opening night of the season because you had the drama and the history of Tassie winning their first game. And then you go to Perth and you go, well, what are you guys going to bring? What are you guys going to bring that's going to make this a memorable game? And Vic Law hits 37 points on debut as a Wildcat. He was unstoppable, on fire. I couldn't believe that they were able to sign him because they had Nick Kay and then they had John Mooney, and then it's like, can they do it again? And I hadn't even considered that they would get Vic Law. I personally just thought the Bullets would be able to bring him back because he got along really well with the guys there. I thought, well, they know how good he is. They'll come to the table and pay what they need to pay. And all of a sudden, the Wildcats announced Vic Law, and I'm like, well, that's just the perfect signing. How do you guard Bryce Cotton when you can't double team him now because you cannot afford to get into rotations? Because if you do, the ball will eventually find Vic Law and you're toast. And that's why he put that completely on display in that opening game as he poured in that massive scoring total. So that was my big takeaway and something I loved watching.
Nice. And I think like Law obviously, played pretty deep into the summer league with the Lakers there. I don't know if he was the last player cut like everyone always likes to say, but he was pretty sort of close to making the team. And yeah, he comes back. He's obviously healthy now and he's fit right into that team. And I think him and sort of Bryce can sort of play that, Batman and Robin sort of role and switch around each game from, to sort of running hot and everything like that. So as a Perth fan, I love that answer, Liam. Good work on that one. And what about yourself, Woody? I wanted to see if there was maybe a team or a player or something you might have slept on a little bit in that first round.
Hey man, first let me just say, Liam, you didn't steal my thunder at all, right? I'm like Corey, man. For the last 15 years, before the season starts, I've been telling Robbie, man, your Wildcats ain't making the playoffs, man. I've been telling him for like 15 years, right? But this year, I got him in my top 4, and I said Vic Law is going to be MVP this year.
Ooh,
that was my hot take.
Love it.
I think that he's going to be MVP this year, right?
Is he on the record with that?
The guys.
You on the record?
I'm on the record with that. I am on the record.
And I said Joe Chi was going to win it, which Woody laughed at.
That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
You saw his first game, didn't you?
Yeah. All right. Look, so what I did was I slept on SEM, Liam. I know you predicted them to win it all, and I actually had them to be fighting for a playoff spot. In fact, I had New Zealand in 4th and SEM in 5th. Obviously, if I was to redo my predictions now, that would change. I got to give it to you, Liam. That's why he's like our Woj, our Santa knows what's up. You know what I'm saying? So, but let me tell you why I slept on them. Can you guys hear me out or what?
Yes, sir.
Of course, man.
I mean, up until the end of September, the Phoenix had not had a lot of player movement, and when Zach Hankins got injured and was ruled out for the season, they had no imports, and they signed Xavier Munford late as their first import, and I remember Xavier on that 2016 Memphis Grizzlies team. That was an injury-riddled team. Conley and Gasol were both out. They lost 4-0 to San Antonio in the first round of the playoffs, but he had a big role to play in that series alongside Vince Carter, and he also played against my boy and Sydney Kings alumni Jarrell Martin. So I knew the guy got game, but it's only been one game versus New Zealand, but I slept on him a little bit as well, Liam and Robbie. I didn't think he would come here and be ready to make an impact like he did last week right away. He could be a realistic MVP candidate. 100%. Is that fair?
Oh, definitely.
Is that fair, Liam?
He's going to be terrific all year long. I was on board with him as a signing. They had an interesting journey the Phoenix took over the offseason in terms of that point guard position. They were in conversations with Casper Ware, with Jalen Adams, with Jeremiah Martin. And then when Xavier Munford came into the picture, and Tommy kind of asked for my feedback, I was like, I'm all in. I'm all in with this guy. He's exactly what you need. I love the combination, his ability to play off the ball, as I've said on air, and teammate that's going to work well with Kyle Adnam and Isaiah Liafa, who we know can play in this league. They are so stacked. I don't know. I've picked Mitch Creek as MVP because I just feel like they're going to have a really successful season. And then when push comes to shove, everyone going to look at that team and go, Creek's the heart and soul. And he's going to get MVP votes as a result. But they're so stacked. I think over the course of the season, it's not going to be like Xavier Mumford night in, night out, like it was with Sobey with Brisbane last year and Tyler Harvey with Illawarra.
Right.
And it has been with Bryce Cotton for the Wildcats for a number of years. I just don't know that it's going to be quite like that, but he's a gun, and I think he was a great pickup for him.
Well, I mean, you mentioned, man, he can play, off the ball and let Liafo, Adnan, run the point guard position, or he can be the floor general at certain times. So he gives a little bit of flexibility to that offense, right? And I mean, you look at a guy like Dane Penner, it's great to see him healthy and just, getting up there with the Windex and the newspaper on that glass, cleaning that all up, man. Unreal. Love to see Sydney Kings alumni doing well. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Joe Chi, man, Robbie, as Homicide says, Liam, be wary when you go into the paint when he's there, right? He has that like Rudy Gobert-like presence.
Yeah.
So, and then as you mentioned, Mitch Creek and Ryan Brokoff, there's some problems last year. Personally, hopefully all that's behind them. You got Cam Glidden looking good. That Australian talent's there. As you said, a lot of depth in that team. And one final thing I got to say about SEM, right? And we know he's going through COVID protocols right now, and it's Devin Thomas, who's currently, he'll be available. I think round 3. Am I right? Maybe round 4,
mm-hmm,
Liam. Right?
Mm-hmm. He comes out, I think, midnight tonight, but they're not going to roll him out this week.
Okay.
Right. Well, I mean, Robbie, I got to tell you this, man. He learned under the tutelage of one of my all-time favorite players in that program at Wake Forest, a great program. You know who I'm talking about? Who am I talking about, bro?
Some Danny Manning, right?
Danny Manning, my guy, man.
Yeah.
Danny Manning, man. So, and Danny Manning said this guy's got a lot of passion. He comes, he plays with energy, and he cares about the game so much. So you spoke about Ben Moore, a guy with that similar sort of intangibles, Liam. And I think that, Thomas is going to be a great addition to this team. And when I thought they were going to challenge for maybe a playoff spot, I'm going to change my tact here. I'm going to agree with you and say that they're a real championship contender now, right? So,
awesome. Yeah, he was actually a college teammate of John Collins as well with Wake Forest.
Oh, dope, man.
Yeah,
we love JC, man.
Yep. So
Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. No, very good. Well, Woods, why don't you sort of maybe just put up the games for sort of round 2 there, and we just have a quick look through those to sort of show the audience what the games are for this weekend.
All right, so we're starting off tonight, right? It's going to be fun.
Big game.
Tasmania versus Adelaide. Big game. You're not working, Liam?
Oh, no, I'm chilling. I'm taking that one in.
Chilling.
And it's a big game for Adelaide. 0-2 start. They got to go down and play against Tassie, who are up and about.
No, that's going to be a good one.
I mean, I'm not as high on Adelaide as Corey is, as you said on Tuesday night, Liam, right? So I think I got Tasmania in this game, Robbie.
Yep, yeah, I've got Tasmania as well for that. But I'm looking forward to seeing them again. I enjoyed sort of seeing them at home. Great atmosphere in that first game, and yeah, I think it's. I know it's only the second week, but it's a huge weekend for Adelaide. If they lose this and go 0-3, and then New Zealand on Sunday, they could potentially go in an 0-4 hole, which would be very hard to get out of. So, yeah, maybe they'll sort of throw the kitchen sink. I think Adelaide's got a few people back that weren't sort of playing last week, but still a couple out there. But
they still don't have Sunday.
What about sort of the other?
I was going to say they still don't have Sunday Detch back. He's a key piece that they're missing.
He would have been good on the jet too, wouldn't he?
For sure.
There's long arms out there.
Hey, Liam, I wanted to ask you this, man. There's one Dusty Hannes, right? He reminds me of one ex-West Sydney Razorback, one ex-Adelaide 36er who could shoot the lights out. You know what I'm talking about?
Ooh, wait. Razor. I mean, I know Willie Farley played for both Adelaide and West Sydney, but he wouldn't be reminding you of Willie.
No, I'm talking about Troy DeVries, man. Right?
Okay.
Just a great shooter. That comparison is there for me. So I mean, as Homicide said, he's got to step up. But I think that give him a little bit of time. He's a good player, and I think he can bring it. Right?
We saw you saw in the preseason, right?
Of course we did.
Who was it against? Perth?
Against the Wildcats.
Against Perth? Yeah, late in the blitz, and he just kind of lit it up late. Kevin White got in his face, and he got him fired up. That's what he needs. He needs someone to get in his grill. He needs to go out of his way and talk some smack with Josh Adams or something tonight and get something fired up, because when that happened, he completely took over and fired Adelaide to the win. So he definitely has that in him. He's just got to try to get the looks. They got to try to run some stuff for him and find him in transition and make a real focus of him and get him going because, if he's going to fire blanks like he did over the course of the opening weekend, they're not going to win a lot of games.
I hear you, man.
Wasn't a good
I hear
start,
you.
was it? What do you guys think of the game of the round for this week? I guess you could probably take a few. I mean, obviously the Melbourne Melbourne and Southeast will be good there. I quite like the Sydney and Illawarra one myself as well for sort of must-watch games.
Woody?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would go with that one that you're covering on Sunday night, Perth versus Brisbane. That's going to be a fun game, right? I think Brisbane's got a point to prove.
Vic Law and Hodgson against their old teams, if Hodgson plays as well.
Absolutely, man. So that's going to be fun, right? So what do you got, Liam?
I do not think you can go past Sydney and Illawarra. And it's a great rivalry. There's good history there. There's been a little kind of banter throughout this week, which has been interesting from an ownership level. But these are just two really stacked teams. And they're trying to battle it out for who's the best team in New South Wales this season, and it starts on Saturday night. So that's a huge one for me. Of course, there was I thought I loved it. The conversation I had with Gorge a few weeks back, where he was like, you know what, last season we were in the finals and they were watching us from home. So he said it's 1-0 the Gong right now as we head towards NBL 22, and I'm really looking forward to that one because. Sydney didn't quite fully hit their stride in their opening game against Melbourne United. Illawarra looked
I hear you, man.
Unbelievably good as we kind of expected that they would against Adelaide. So in Kudos Bank Arena in front of what should be a really healthy crowd, that's going to be a massive game.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a Sydney homer, man. So, I kind of went with the Wildcats, Brisbane. But yeah, me and Robbie are going to that game. Yeah, you're designated driver that night, Robbie, right?
Yeah, it always seems to be on designated driver when we go to these games, Woods. But no, that's all good. It's the first time I've been to a game for a while with this. I'm looking forward to it. It's at a pretty good time too. We can go out and have a bit of a feed after that maybe. So, all right, that's great. Well, look, I thought we'd just talk about some of the key sort of games there, I guess, Woods, rather than sort of go through sort of
Hey, Cairns, Tasmania, I'm looking forward to that, man. My boy Keanu Pinder, he did all right in the first game. Looking forward to see if he can show out again, right? So maybe not so many turnovers from Cairns, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big one for them as well, isn't it? They sort of want to get on the board and everything like that. But I found it quite a hard week. I mean, we're in a tipping comp there. I found a lot of sort of almost 50-50 games. I think I picked a lot of the road teams to win as well. Well,
let's go through our tips real quickly, man. All right. We got Tasmania, you and me today. Who you got tonight, Liam?
Man, that's tough, that one. I'm gonna lean towards Adelaide. With my head says Tassie. But my heart says Adelaide because I just want CJ to get that first win and get up and about, and I want that team to start feeling good about themselves.
All right. I think we're all on the same page with that second game, Southeast Melbourne at home at John Cain versus New Zealand, right?
Yeah, Southeast for me.
All right. I got Sydney. I mean, I ain't going to waver from my boys, man. But what about you two?
I'm going to say the Hawks for that one. Not with a great deal of confidence. I think it'll be a close, tight game, but I think the Hawks might just have a little bit too much for them there.
Me too. I'm with the Hawks. And
looking forward. Yeah.
I think I'm with Cairns for this next one against Tasmania. This will be Tassie's first game on the road. It'll be Cairns' first game back at the Cairns Convention Centre, which is their beloved home court, and they weren't there all last season. And coming in off the
Bunnings or something when they last year,
the snack pit, they were. And then I think they'll be so annoyed with themselves after their performance last week in Perth, especially Scott Machado.
I hear you, man.
Fun point guard matchup here, man. These two guys went at it in the G League as the two kind of premier assist guys at that level at one point. They're going to be engaged in another battle like that this season in the NBL, and they're going to go head-to-head in this one.
The funny thing is, Liam, the minute, Tasmania signed Josh Majette, me and Robbie, we Atlanta Hawks lifers, right? And we know Josh, and we know how good he is. And we said, this guy's going to lead the league in assists probably, right? So, we with you, man, right? Like, I think Scott Machado might not have, like, some of those guys who are going to finish those buckets for him, right? So it's going to be a nice contest, and Delhi might be in the contest, as you said, right? So
I think the guy that probably will give those two a shake over the course of the year will be Mitch McCarron.
Right, yeah.
Once the 36ers hit their stride, and he's just there's some teams out there that are going to have a lot of guys ripping it off the defensive glass and pushing themselves. Sydney's obviously a perfect example. New Zealand like to do a lot of that. And it sometimes, whereas I think Adelaide, there's going to be very much a focus of like, get Macca the rock, get him, Isaac, DJ, these guys become best. So they pull down the defensive board, find Macca, he pushes, he's finding Dusty Hannahs, he's finding guys kind of slash into the hoop. I think once they hit their stride, Macca's assist numbers are going to start rising.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shot, man. All right, what about the throwdown? All right, what about the throwdown? Who we got?
No, I'll start off with that. I'm going to say Southeast with that one. I'm not that high on United this year, I've got to say. I don't know. It just seems to be sort of lacking a little bit of something on that team. So I'm going to stick with Southeast for that one.
I'm with you all the way, Robbie.
Yeah, I'm there too. I will say it's Melbourne's only game for the week. Phoenix played less than 48 hours in advance of that. So depending on how much of a grind that Breakers game is, that could make things a little bit interesting. But nonetheless, I think the Phoenix they're just a much better team than Melbourne United this season.
And Golding's still out for at least another week. Is that sort of your...
He's a game day decision is the latest word from Melbourne, yeah.
All right, yep.
What about DB, man? David Barlow.
Barlow's back.
All right.
Barlow's back. Jack White maybe next week.
Wow.
What? That early?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's why you had Melbourne in the top 4, right? What do you like? What's Santa doing having Melbourne in the top 4?
What is Santa talking about,
Okay, Jack White back. That's a completely different ballgame now than he was awesome last year.
All right. All right, this is interesting. Adelaide, New Zealand, two teams that are probably going to go into this game really needing a win, right, guys?
Yeah. The Breakers have it tough once again, don't they? Not only do they have all this time on the road, now they've got to play these back-to-back games. They play the Phoenix, who are just so tough, and they're going to play an Adelaide team who is either going to be incredibly desperate after losing in Tassie and starting 0-3, or suddenly feeling kind of good about themselves, have just kind of got the monkey off their back, got a win on the board, and they're coming home. So I think Adelaide in this one.
Yep.
I'm going to say New Zealand.
I'm going to go with Santa here, man. I think Adelaide is going to get this, man. New Zealand are depleted, and they're struggling, man. It's just really tough to not be at home and be on the road for so long. They had that last year, and they thought that this year that they might have the opportunity to, play some of their games at home, and they've started the season, on the road, and it's going to be tough. So, and they've got the COVID issues, right? So, I'm going to go Adelaide on this one. Yeah.
Let's just hope they get the calls. If you remember their first game last season, New Zealand in Adelaide, Lamar Patterson, late in the game, they called a travel on him when the Breakers, when Adelaide were trying to commit the take foul and send him to the free throw line. Called the travel. Donald Sloan comes out, hits the 3-ball. New Zealand lose that game, and it was the start of a horrible season. So they might have some of those memories, some of those guys, as they return to the entertainment center.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right, Robbie, your boys?
Look, I think I'm reasonably confident about Perth in this one. I was very impressed with Franks last week for Brisbane. He seems to have quite a bit of variety in his game, and he's a big unit there. So it'll be interesting to see if Hodgson is back or not. Obviously, Majok was very good in that in both of the games last week. But yeah, I'd like to see that sort of match up inside. But I think Perth will be a little bit sort of too strong there, and not sort of too concerned about that game as a Wildcats fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I told you, there's two imports that everybody's sleeping on in this league. It's Mikhail McIntosh from Tasmania and Isaiah Moss from Brisbane. Liam, are we going to see Isaiah Moss back?
Good question.
Playing this Sunday?
Good question. I don't know. Yeah. He's been dealing with that hamstring issue that kept him out of the preseason and out of their season opener. I'm not sure. You think he's going to have a big impact?
I just think that people are sleeping on McIntosh and Moss a little bit, right? They've been very under the radar. McIntosh had a pretty good season in the NZBL. He can shoot the ball well, and he's just going to be a guy that can contribute to the game quietly, falling under the radar. And I just think, I think he'll be decent, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people sleep on him. So
yeah. He'll help them for sure. And they missed I think they missed him a bit last week as well because, geez, they were struggling from long range. And Anthony Drimmick wasn't knocking it down.
Word up.
Jason Kadee was having his struggles. So to have another guy like that, you can turn to and say, hey, can you knock a couple down for us? I think I lean towards the Wildcats here at home. If this was in Brisbane,
me too.
I might potentially go the other way because, the Wildcats, with all those guys still out, but they've got such a great schedule to open the season with these 5 games at home. And,
right.
You're playing teams like Adelaide and Cairns and teams that we don't think are genuine championship contenders. So they've built a little momentum off that opening round, and I think they'll get this dub.
Good stuff, fellas. Look, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually hooping tonight myself, so I'm going to have to sort of press the record on the game tonight. As soon as I come home, I'll be watching that and looking forward to that. So, all right, good stuff. Well, Liam, are you ready for this part of the show? This is the part where Woody opens the old pack of cards, and it's his favorite part of the week. This part, so we've just sort of play a small part in this and give a few comments. So yeah, take it away for us there, Woods.
This is the part of the show where I open up a classic pack of cards, right, Liam? Mm-hmm. It could be from last week. What did we do? We did a 94-95 Skybox last year. Yep. Last week, right? So this week I got the 90-91 hoops. Okay, I just opened the pack.
90-91? These are 91-92, right?
Oh, 91-92. Sorry, my apologies.
90-91 was that's my series of cards. With the grey, the archway around, the grey. That was my set.
So, Liam, we have opened up quite a few packs of 90-91 hoops. That's why I got confused.
Okay.
But this week, I got the 91-92 hoops. All right?
Let's do it.
So, let's bring it on.
Let's do it. The first one I got is Indiana Pacers, Mike Sanders.
Wow, Mike Sanders. Didn't we have him in a pack previously? And I told you he played for Cleveland Cavs in the past. Am I right?
We had him in the 1991
hoops.
We did.
All right. Well, again, he played with Cleveland in the past. I don't know much more about him, but there you go.
All right. So, we got Miami Heat now. Terry Davis.
Wow. Got any fun facts on him, Liam? Because I'm struggling.
No, man. We're hitting the big names.
He was a left-hander, I think. A left-hander, I'm going to say. It's probably
doesn't say that on the back of his card.
But yeah,
but he went to Virginia. Yeah, averaged 4.7 points a game. All right.
Of course he
did. I know you're gonna love this one, man. Milwaukee Bucks. Dan Shays.
Oh wow.
Wow, okay. Son of the great Dolph Shays there, right? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, son of Dolph Shays.
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys. This guy is probably one of the most controversial picks in NBA history because he was taken before who? Michael Jordan.
Were you about to say Sam Bowie? Yeah.
Sam Bowie right here. We got Sam Bowie right here.
Oh,
he's a big boy. They took the size over the talent, didn't they, in that draft?
No.
And if it wasn't for injuries and whatnot, he would have been a hell of a player, man. Yeah, back then the big man actually made a difference. He
wasn't someone that was a bust because of talent, was he? He didn't work out because of his injuries.
He's the Greg Oden before Greg Oden.
Definitely.
Yeah. And a New York Knicks legend, man. And Robbie, I know you said that you're just about to get NBA Street on PlayStation, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Now, this guy is awesome to use on that game. Kenny Walker.
Hey, Skywalker.
Yes, Skywalker right here.
Slam dunk contest legend.
He had a great flat top too, didn't he, back in the day? His hair.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't play tonight, Robbie, in our rec league game. I'm going to look after my grandparents.
Oh, good, man.
But there is a 3-point shooter that you love, and we opened up him.
Dana Barros.
No, Dana Barros, man. This guy is one of your favorites. NBA analyst.
Oh, 3D.
3D, Dennis Scott, baby.
Wow.
Dennis
he's looking in pretty big shape there, let's say. Looks like he's packed on a few kgs.
He is. He's rocking the short shorts too there, isn't he? With the long
look how far under the knees are there.
Liam, Robbie barely attempts a 2-point shot, so he loves 3D, right? Oh, man, you guys are going to love this, okay? You talk about D-Mac being a great passer.
Yes.
What about the greatest passer of all time? Okay, LA Lakers legend. Who am I talking about?
Irvin Magic Johnson.
Magic, right?
It is Magic.
Oh, what a card!
Johnson. What a card!
That is a card right
That's
there.
And is that Randy Brewer guy from Minnesota we've spoken about before?
That is Randy Brewer. That is Randy Brewer.
I don't think Randy Brewer is going to stop Magic from driving past.
No, hell no, man. We pulled that Randy Brewer card last week, bro. Yeah.
I love our first true superstar card, dude.
I love how you reveal a card of Hall of Fame, one of the greatest players of all time, Magic Johnson, and Rob's like, is that Randy Brewer?
That's how I roll. Yeah.
All right. We knew this guy, man. You know, he did okay. He did his thing. I'm pretty sure he played with the Utah Jazz. Yeah, he definitely did play with the Utah Jazz. Felton Spencer.
Okay. Right.
He was there sort of around when Longley got drafted, I think, wasn't he, with the Timberwolves?
Yep. Yeah. This is Timberwolves card.
Yeah. So how long have the Timberwolves been in existence at this point? Like 2 or 3 years?
88? Were they?
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was, probably right. Maybe the third year.
Yeah, right.
He was a big unit too, wasn't he, Felton Spencer?
All
right, guys.
Magic Johnson to Felton Spencer was a little bit of a step down, just quietly.
Yeah,
very bespectacled, okay? He looked like he should be working at KPMG or PwC, all right? He played for the Phoenix Suns in 91, 92, but he was also a great LA Laker. Who was he?
Kurt Rambis.
Nice.
Oh, guys, I got to show you something.
Wow. Oh, here we go. I told you he was going to get excited, Liam, didn't I? Now he's going to pull out some Kurt Rambis jersey or something. There you go.
That was unexpected.
I know. This is an unopened pack too. He didn't plan for this, right?
That's
like probably the only one in the world who owns a Kurt Rambis jersey.
Probably are.
This guy, man, rest in peace to him. Because I know, Robbie, you and me loved him. And he revolutionized the stretch 4-5. He was a contestant on the episode of Survivor.
Oh, wow.
What's he? On the season of Survivor. Who am I talking about?
Uncle
and he'd
Cliffy.
love to smoke the peace pipe, man.
Uncle
Who am I
Cliff.
talking about? Uncle Cliff. We're talking Clifford Robinson, baby.
Wow.
Clifford Robinson, right?
He had a great career, didn't he? As a six man with the Blazers, and he went on played with Detroit and a couple of other teams. He was a great player. Uncle Cliffy.
Oh, loved him, man. Rest in peace to him, man.
Yeah.
You know, rest in peace to him.
Yeah, well said. And just quietly, you scared the heck out of me because you're talking about Kurt Rambis and then you say rest in peace. And I thought, what have I missed here? Exactly. So good to...
My bad. I got ahead of myself, Liam.
I just did a quick
Wikipedia. Rest in peace to Kurt Rambis. It was rest in peace to Kurt Rambis' coaching career, possibly, but
for sure.
Fair.
Yeah.
For sure. He actually coached Nathan Jawai at Minnesota, right? Fun fact.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And you know what Lee Ellis tells to us when we open up an NBA Hoops
not a
checklist card?
It's
an NBA Hoops checklist card. What does Lee Ellis tell us to do? Huh?
Rip it up in 100 pieces, throw it over your shoulder.
It's gone, man.
Why are we ripping it up? What?
It's gone.
Hey, how are you going to rip it up?
Robbie, tell Liam.
It's the rule there. You know, we stole this idea off Lee Ellis from the No Dunks podcast, the great Australian there, and he's got a rule there. Firstly, you're going to get an Otis Thorpe card in nearly every pack, but the second rule is if you get a checklist, you rip it up and chuck it. So we've actually sort of been in contact with Liam and let him know when we get one, and he's liking hearing about that
Lee.
as well. So,
with Lee. Yeah, we've been in contact with Lee. It's like if you ever get a checklist card on your show, Woody and Rob, you got to rip it up, right? Wow. So we're just honoring a great Australian in Lee Ellis, right?
Is that
okay?
It?
So
is
we got an NBA year. No, there's 4 more to come.
Oh my
God!
Right? Do you know? Can I just flag the card that I'm hoping for? The best card from this series of 91-92 hoops is that Tournament of America's Team USA Dream Team card.
Yep.
And they're all on the card. It's a
landscape. You had to turn a landscape, Tournament of Americas. So I'm hoping that's in these final 4.
Nice. Come on, Woods. Pull it out.
I'm sorry it's not, but we have got the great coach, okay? The Zen Master, okay?
Cool.
Wow. Look at that.
It's a pretty cool pack.
It's a great pack.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Look at him there. Yeah. That's a big suit he's wearing.
All right. We got Detroit Pistons. I mean, Michael Jordan often said, have you guys watched Michael Jordan's Playground? I mean, you're 43, you're 40, I'm 38. We've all watched Michael Jordan's Playground, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Is this going to be a bit of Joey D?
Exactly, bro. Who did he say was the guy that he hated playing against? This is an all-star card for Joe Dumas, man.
Ones, yep.
Nice.
And we got the Clyde Drexler, the Michael Jordan over the last few weeks to put it alongside in my collection.
Would you say a better player than general manager?
Well, yeah, it's got that the meme, right, of the two phones that he's holding in the front office. But one of the most underappreciated players of all time.
Oh, 100%, Liam. Seriously, man. Like, we sleep on him all the time, right? But okay, we got an Orlando Magic team card. I mean, the Orlando Magic, they had Treat Rollins and whoever else playing for them back in 91. They were an average team, right?
Like
we tear that up.
That's a bit of Matt Gukas, the coach there, I think, right?
Yep.
It's going back. Is this the last one?
And the final one, we have a NBA yearbook, class of 79 card for Magic Irvin Johnson.
Oh my God, it's the Magic pack.
It is a great pack for Magic. I don't even remember that card. I don't know. I've got that set somewhere in the wardrobe, but that is a good one. I won't talk about Randy Brewer this time, Liam. Don't worry.
No. Well, the 1991 was nostalgic. I agree with Liam with the grey background.
Yeah,
brilliant. I've still got a few of them back there, sitting there. So
that was great.
We can potentially open one up in a future episode, Robbie.
Good stuff, Woody. No, I really enjoyed that. I like opening.
Sorry for getting too excited, everyone. You know how I get when we open these packs.
I thought you were pretty sort of under control compared to some weeks. Apart from the.
I enjoyed this one. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Kurt Rambis jersey. I got the Phil Jackson book.
Sick, man.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, look, I've had an absolute blast with having you on there. And Liam, we can't thank you enough for being on there. It's just been awesome. We've been looking forward to it all week. And, yeah, it's been great sort of, hearing some of your stories and, yeah, sort of focusing on some old stories and some NBA and NBL there. So I guess just sort of start to wrap it up a little bit now. Now, Liam, if we make an error in our show the week before, we always own up to it the week after, no matter how small it is. So last week, when I was talking about our Hawks there, I actually got the wrong Wright brother. So I'm not talking about those ones involved in aviation. I was talking about the DeLon and Darrell Wrights that played in the NBA. So I actually referred to current Hawks player DeLon as Darrell Wright. I'm sorry about that. I'm a big fan of both of them. I got a little bit confused.
Yo, Liam, everyone else is listening. Robbie's had a man crush on Darrell Wright for about the last 15 years. Probably a bigger crush than he has on Eddie House. Yeah, so I don't blame him for getting that wrong, man. Yeah. I don't blame him for getting that wrong.
Two Darrell Wright jerseys in the cupboard. Yeah.
Really? So this
played
is
with
Darrell
Miami,
Wright
started off with them.
Yes. Was a fantasy tease. Year after year, I kind of, from time to time, you'd throw for Darrell Wright in your team and you'd be like, he's got a game that has a high fantasy ceiling that I just felt like he never quite reached.
He did, absolutely. He seemed to fade out a bit quick. I know he sort of finished off with Golden State. I think he may have even gone to Toronto maybe or something. But, yeah, he sort of faded out pretty quick there. So, look, they're pretty unusual names. So you'll let me off on that one with the DeLon and the Darrell Wright stuff there, I guess. So, all right, good stuff.
I'd tell you, the fact-checking... Sorry, Rob, I was going to say, I didn't know you should have let me know the fact-checking was going to happen because I might have been a bit more careful. The fact-checking after this episode with all the things I would have got it incorrect early doors will be a long list next week.
Well, Liam, just to let you know, I'm going to be replaying it with a red pen and a pad of paper later tonight. So any mistakes, I'll be recording them. No, I won't do that.
Take it easy on me.
All right. Look, I really just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in this week. Just a reminder to please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't done so already. And obviously, feel free to check out that podcast wherever you find your podcasts. Also, just in terms of where you sort of can get in touch with us there, our Twitter handle is @throwbackshoops.
See you down there, man.
Yeah, that's
if you're watching
down there. Yeah. Our Instagram is throwback.hoops. And of course, our email is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. So we have been getting some good viewer questions. We are going to be doing a bit of a viewer mailbag just sort of over the Christmas sort of break there. So if anyone...
Hey, dog, I got to say something to you, man. Last week you said you weren't going to let it out the bag, right? Who's the special guest we got coming on in a few weeks? But come on, man. All right.
I told you. I said 3 times.
Give the people what they want, man. Tell them who it's going to be.
All right. Let's just say, I'm going to give you more clues. I'm not going to say the name.
All right, man.
One of the greatest names in Australian women's basketball, 3-time Olympian. That's all I'm going to say at this stage.
All right, man.
Wow.
All right.
You just have to keep watching and find out who that is. It does. All right. What about Woody? I know you're sort of heavily on the TikTok stuff. Where can we find you on there?
Yeah, I mean, for the younger listeners, man, we showcase the jerseys on the show and whatnot. So Woody_V83. Wait till the end of this episode. You'll see my TikTok handle. We're trying to cater for the younger generation as well. Jump on my TikTok. We tell some stories about the jerseys we're wearing and whatnot. And thanks for all your support. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Wood. So, all right. So again, Liam, just wanted to really thank you. We always ask all our guests, and look, you can say no if you don't, but just wanted to see if you enjoyed your time on the show. And obviously just sort of give yourself a bit of a plug where people can find you as well.
No, man, it was a blast. I had a great time chatting with you, fellas. You got to keep up the great work. This is a good show, and love that you're putting it out there, and appreciate you having me on. And I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. Just strolling back memory lane a little bit on my time with the Titans and opening the pack. It was a good time. Where can you catch me? You said it off the top. NBL Overtime, the Huddle Podcast. Got a new episode out with Ryan Brockhoff, just diving deep on what he's been experiencing over recent times and his journey back to the NBL this season. Across the games, across the weekend. You can hit me on Twitter at Liam_Santa.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it. Look, we'd love to have you back at another time there, Liam. We've definitely got a lot more questions we want to sort of cover about that, the season with Victoria there. And obviously, lots of things that, we'd love to sort of speak with you again. But no, I just really wanted to sort of thank you guys again. I guess just on behalf of the Throwback Hoops crew, thanks everyone for tuning in. And look, before we go, I should mention to the audience as well, we are in the same fantasy comp, the three of us. I can see already Liam's team's about 300 points ahead of me. So that was probably a bit of a mistake inviting him into the comp there. But yeah, looking forward to sort of see how we go this season with the fantasy stuff as well, right, fellas?
It makes the game a little bit more interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
For sure. Get your trades right, Rob. You'll be right. You'll bounce back.
Yeah, true. I had a few people who didn't play. I had Wetzel in the starting lineup, so I didn't get any points from him. But I'll fire back this week as well. I'm going to find some money for Vic Law as well.
Oh, get Vic Law in your team, man. MVP, dog. MVP.
You had Wetzel? Right? Yeah. What have you been under a rock?
Yeah, I know. What was I doing? Yeah. I don't have all the hot news like you do, but okay. All right. Good stuff, boys. All right, one love from Throwback Hoops, and we can't wait to see you all again soon. Peace out.
TBH in the house. TBH in the house.